Hey everyone, this is a post on the historical trends impacting our vocation. Um, Looking back in history, I looked at the different time periods, and even though the Spartans and the Romans gave a little bit more influence and importance to the sport of swimming, which is something that I do, or coach, um, I thought mostly it was Athens and the Greeks who had probably one of the first, I'll say, collegiate atmospheres with the gymnasia. I mean, they started as athletic centers, and then as they moved more into the mind and body focus of, Plato's Academy, I think was probably one of the, you could call it the first college settings or university settings, where they, basically, did sport and, talked philosophy and educated. So I would say that that's probably, looking back on it, might be, some would consider the start of college athletics, or at least that kind of pursuit. Um, so I would say that, on to me, that's why I think Athens had, a little bit more impact than, say, Sparta, just because of the educational side of physical education. Um, Moving up historically, there are a lot of things that impact my sport. Obviously, the Olympics every 4 years, but probably at the collegiate level, Title IX, the Patsy T. Mink Act, has probably influenced our sport both positively and negatively. Obviously you have the pros, the positives of women, starting in the early 70s. There's some debate. Arizona State says they had the first female scholarships for swimmers in the early 70s. Um, but I personally have coached two women's only programs at the Division I level, and have seen what a positive impact that has been, generational impact. Um, and so right now we're getting actually the first set of daughters coming from the moms who got to be a student athlete in college, and got scholarships. And so I think that those legacies that tend to be more on the male side, for the bigger sports, are now happening on the female side, in Olympic sports. Um, the and that's been great. The opportunities for women, um, all that type of stuff. The negatives come not from the Title IX Act itself, but how uh, athletic departments and universities get to those numbers, which have been, basically cutting men's Olympic sports. Swimming is one of the main sports that is cut, not quite as bad as gymnastics on the men's side, but at the Division I level, that's impacted. I mean, the both programs where I was the women's only coach had men's programs until the mid '80s, and then they were cut. So, and the conference that I swam in, when I swam in, we had 8 teams, and up till 2006, it had 8 teams, and then when California went through that budget crisis, they cut 5 of the men's sports. Um, so, and that's that was tough. And the last thing I think moving forward is, and that's part of the negative impact of how people police Title IX, is budgets. And I think that's really going to be outside of athletes' rights, which you've seen a lot of the legislation, NC2A legislation, in the last 5 years. Um, is going to be your biggest concern is for the Olympic sports. There is a minimum number of sports that each conference is allowed to have, so you have to have, whatever the conference dictates to you, those sports. Well, they obviously are football, basketball, baseball, and then it tends to delve from conference to conference. And so, if looking forward, and to keep Olympic sports, especially on the men's side, as a viable option, it really has to come down to is how do athletic departments manage their budgets? Because even with the incredible amount of money that is being given right now for the NCAA March Madness and the Bowl Championship Series games, you still only have about less than 10% of Division I athletic departments make money. So you're talking about constant in the black. When I was in Hawaii, the only year we had a red budget was the year we went to the Sugar Bowl. Other than that, it's 2 to 4 million every year in the hole. And so, you know, I was the only coach to coach both men and women. My women's budget was twice the men's budget for the same amount of athletes, same everything. So those are the concerns that I have: is can Olympic sports survive with the fact that institutions are losing money, and how is that going to impact, the Olympic sports? Other than that, I hope everyone's having a great day, and I'll talk to you later.